Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how I design electrical control systems, specifically a subsystem or the controls of a subsystem within this system as a whole. So we're going to focus specifically on a pressurization unit, which is absolutely critical if you're designing any system that has hydraulic water system, a sealed hydraulic water system. The details of the pressurization unit, how that works, are less important because we as controls engineers or people that want to understand controls and automation really have to focus more on the control side, how this unit integrates with the whole system. So this is all with a real world project, by the way. So as you can see here, this is a real world school project with a heating system. So a BMS system or a BAS system if you're over in the States, building automation system. So yeah, real world stuff, not theoretical. This is an actual project that I delivered to a client. So you can see here, this is the heating layout. These are the hydraulics schematics as well. You can see here, this is the pressurization unit, incoming main water feed, goes through the pressurization unit and then feeds into this hot water or hot heating system, sorry. You can see here, here's the layout of the plant room. That's the pressurization unit here. Quick overview of a pressurization unit. As I said, it's not that important for controls engineers to understand every minute detail of how they work, but it's important to have a high level overview. What we're more interested in is the controls, obviously, but just to give you some context, and I'll put this in the description so you can find this blog post, link in the description, which is really helpful, this blog. But yeah, they're basically a foundational piece to heating and cooling systems, which just keep, clues in the name, keep the pressure level and optimal, which ultimately increases the efficiency of that system. It prevents contamination coming in. It prevents oxidization coming in, and increases efficiency, reliability, and reduces the need to sort of maintain these systems or components within this system. So as you can kind of see here, the mains water comes in, pressurization unit, then pressures the mains water coming in and then sends it out into the heating system. So it maintains the pressure consistently this side of the pressurization unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the design, the electrical schematic design of this specifically. So, and we can also reference some images within the control panel here, just to give you a bit more context and to show you that this is with a real world project. Cool, so let's get into the video. Let me share this with you and let's get into it. So as you can see, I've already designed like the block for the pressurization system. I got the inputs, the outputs, the power from that tech manual. So let's just go back to that tech manual quickly. Did I show you the tech manual? Don't think I did. But yeah, so this is the tech manual. Now, obviously, this is a very, very detailed, long tech manual of the specific pressurization unit that we're using. Now, as controls engineers, we don't have to read every single bit within this manual. It's just wasted time. It's not important. We need to understand the electrical controls side of it, really. So good way to quickly find what you need as a controls engineer is by typing things in like outputs, inputs, electrical, and then you can find relevant things within the tech manual very quickly. So Control F, type your keyword, and then it will find it within the PDF. Now I know adding output is really helpful for this specific tech manual. So let me go through digital outputs. We're going to be using those. System interlock output DO1, digital output 1, general fault output DO2. So we're going to be using those. And then you can start scanning through and seeing this leads you straight to a level of understanding in terms of how this system is controlled, or this subsystem is controlled. A system 1 fault output is used to interlock the boiler or chiller on system 1 to disable it if the system pressure falls outside the safe operating limit. So that's kind of what happens on digital output 1, and then there's a generic fault output on digital output 2. But then, like, how does that, what do the connections look like for me to know how to draw it in the electrical schematic? So that's kind of what I'm looking for now. And here we go. We've got, DO1 and DO2. And then I think there's another part somewhere. Let's have a look. Electrical. Let's find the main electrical connections. And by the way, you can also find things easily. As you can see, it highlights them yellow, the specific bit that you need. But this is what we're looking for, connection drawings. So that's where you find the connections, the electrical connections, and how to sort of integrate it into your electrical schematic. So we've drawn this, and well, you'll see in a second, but that's ultimately where you find that information. So I've already kind of drawn the block. This, by the way, in the schematic is like the dividing line of what's in the panel and what's outside in the field. So you can see here, this is obviously the pressurization unit out in the field, and then all of these lines that we're drawing up here north of this dividing line are in the panel. And you can see these terminal blocks here are the terminal blocks within the panel. So I'm just drawing the MCB, the main power connection from inside the panel to this unit out in the field. So I'm just getting the spacing correctly there, going through those terminal blocks, through a main isolator in the field to that pressurization unit. So pretty self-explanatory. We just got 230 volt main supply supplying that pressurization unit. So if the panel is on, then, and that MCB is healthy, then the pressurization unit gets 230 volt mains power, obviously providing the main isolator in the field is closed too. So now what you can see is I've moved from another page in the schematic that I've already drawn with the right spacings of these relay coils and lights. I've copied them from another page in the schematic, and I've now moved them onto this page because I'm going to be using similar components. Let's speed up a little bit. So yeah, you can see that I've just drawn the normally closed and the common, so going in and then going back out for the digital output 1 on the pressurization unit, going to terminal blocks, or going from and to terminal blocks. And I've just indicated that that is relay number 3, and the question mark is because I don't know how many poles on that relay are being used yet. I think I need to change the spacing here. Yeah, so this is the digital output 1, system 1, the interlock that we discussed earlier. So yeah, I'm just messing around with some of the spacing here. And I'm also doing the same thing for the general fault output as well. And I'll explain how this all works in a second. Just faffing about with spacing. I get very anal in particular with the spacing, because if things are all spaced evenly, it's just so much easier on the eye as someone who's trying to interpret and read these schematics. So I'm thinking, as a design engineer or a controls engineer, like, I'm thinking about the people out in the field, the commissioning engineers, the service engineers. Having been a service engineer, having been a commissioning engineer, it gives me some level of insight of what they're going through on site. And if I can make things as a design engineer, controls engineer, as easy as possible for them, that's good for the business as a whole, whether it's, you know, your own business or whether that's business that you work for. I'm trying to be conscious of other people downstream that are going to be, you know, using these drawings. And also you as a engineer, designer, looking at these anyway as well, it just makes it easier to find things quickly. If things are just like bunched here and then there's loads of open space here, it's not very nice on the eye. So yeah, I get quite, but anal and pedantic about like spacings of schematics and stuff. So a lot of the time when you're drawing something for the first time, I actually spend making it visually appealing and spaced correctly, in my opinion. So yeah, this is just going through the step-by-step design process. And you can see that's it pretty much drawn. I'm skipping forward because it's fairly straightforward design for the pressurization unit. I want to get to a point where I can actually explain what's happening in terms of the operation. Okay, let's leave that there because that's not that helpful. But this is what we ended up with. Okay, so let's just focus on this little component here. So we got L1 from the panel. If the panel's live and switched on, then the next thing is this MCB. That's good, hasn't tripped. Then that sends power out of terminal blocks 14 to the pressurization unit out in the field, providing this local isolator is also closed. So we got power. Then what we've got off this safety circuit, which is ultimately a 24 volts AC supply circuit, if various things upstream up here basically are healthy, so relay 1 is energized and that's healthy, that sends power down this safety circuit down here, which is 24 volts AC as I mentioned, and then that comes down here into the common of the digital output, so relay of the system. And if everything's healthy, again, I've mentioned this on previous videos, don't get too hung up on whether it's normally open, normally closed, because you can always invert it. If we wire it normally closed and then on site it should be normally open, that's fine. The commissioning engineers can just rewire that and then red pen and correct the drawings. We're thinking about the bigger picture operation here. But let's just look at the what's actually happening with those outputs, just so you can understand what's happening. So it'd be these here. Yeah, here we go. So 7.10 digital outputs. This explains what's happening with these relays. DO1, DO2, fault, and interlock, if you can see that. So this explains what happens. The interlock is activated by all/any of the following alarms. So if there's low pressure in the system, this triggers. If there's high pressure within the system, it triggers. If there's a sensor fault, it triggers. And if there's mains power failure, this triggers. Okay, and this is the interlock, which we can see then goes on this line. So this needs to be in a healthy state based on those things that I just listed, to send that or relay, this is where like the word relay comes in, relay that 24 volts AC down the system further on this boiler interlock circuit, which then you can see boiler control is picked up off that interlock circuit. So, basically what that's saying is for the boilers to run, We don't want low pressure. We don't want high pressure. We want good pressure. We don't want there to be any faults detected in the system. And if the mains power goes down, then yeah, we don't want the boilers running. So that's kind of what that's doing there. And this is like, it's like if then else statement. So if this is healthy, if this is healthy, if this is healthy, if this is healthy, then the boilers can run. That's how you got to kind of think about that. Now on the general fault output, this one over here, again, same thing on this one, because this is just a general fault. We want that to be active all the time. So that's tapping off just the constant 24 volt AC feed. It's not being determined by this other upstream safety circuit. It's just a generic fault output. So we want that. We want voltage going to that all the time. But you can see here that relay triggers and gives us a signal if there's overcurrent on the pumps, undercurrent, low water, high water. Well, you can see I won't read all of them, but that just gives like a generic fault output that then, as you can see here, triggers relay 3, and that then goes from, yeah, if everything's good, this is energized, and that means that contact goes this way and then lights up this green light on the front of the panel, which is why I brought these pictures. Here's the pressurization unit. So if everything's healthy, normal green light, then if something goes into fault, if any of these things go into fault, that brings on that light on the front of the panel. Also though, because you can see here, /2, 2 poles of the relays being used. So this is relay 3, pole 1 being used. But then we've also got, where is it? Relay pole 2, pressurization unit. That signal's also being sent to a PLC, where we can do lots of stuff off the back of that, send alarm signals, send notifications. We could do some programming potentially off the back of that, but this is feeding into the PLC, so we can monitor the system remotely now because we've got that signal going into a PLC as well. Basically reflects what's going on the lights here. Yeah, one more thing. If you want to learn more about controls automation, if you're looking to develop your career, land a position as a controls engineer, a BMS engineer, maybe you're an electrician, technician, engineer, we've got a lot of free training in our academy here, link in the description. Or if you're a business owner, self-employed contractor, you're looking to maybe pivot from doing standard electrical, standard HVAC, move into this industry. Again, this free community will help you with lots of additional free training, and obviously, yeah, there's people in here sharing knowledge and whatnot. So yeah, might be of interest to you. Links in the description. See you on the next video.